to the lame duck session of Congress. With a new president on the horizon and a government shutdown looming, these next 5 weeks are going to be very interesting. So interesting, I'm pulling out the old whiteboard. So first, let me clear up two things before we get there. One, I'm not insulting anyone. Lame duck is literally what this period of time in Washington, D.C. is called between an election and the swearing in of a new Congress. And two, you have to understand which Congress I'm talking about. I'm talking about the exact same Congress that we've been dealing with for the last 2 years, where Democrats control the Senate and Republicans narrowly control the House with the slimmest voting majority in history. The new Congress that was elected last week will not take power until January of 2025. So priority number one for this lame duck Congress is avoiding a government shutdown that is scheduled for December 20th. Because this Congress failed to do its job back in September, we are now here, 2 months into a fiscal year with no spending plan. So now both the House and the Senate will have to figure out how to keep the government open, how to fund each of the departments, and which programs will fall by the wayside. That includes whether or not to add significant new funding to FEMA and disaster relief after those hurricanes. What's interesting about this spending decision that is happening in Congress now is whatever they decide is going to impact the first 8 months of Trump's presidency. That's because government spending runs on a fiscal year from October 1st to September 30th. It does not go January to January. So whatever decision they make now could impact Trump for those first 8 months of 2025. And that's why we're about to see some real political maneuvering in the next few weeks. And here's why. Because the government is scheduled, as I said, to shut down on December 20th. So Republicans also know that in 2025, they are going to control the White House, the Senate, and possibly the House too. So they want to keep all their spending options on the table, and they want to give Trump all the spending possibilities. So they've got two options right now. Option one, they can avoid the December 20th government shutdown by making a deal with Democrats and funding the government for the rest of the fiscal year. They could do that. Or option two, they could pass a continuing resolution, which Republicans say they hate, but that would avoid a government shutdown. They would not have to technically make a deal with Democrats, and instead they could come up with a plan in 2025 when they possibly control all the branches of the government. Does that make sense? So I'll give you one guess which way they're leaning. If you picked option two, you would be correct. Now, the question is, can they get option two past not only the House, but also the Senate? And the other question is whether or not President-elect Trump is going to put his thumb on the scale and force this option.